Are you strong as hell or are you weak as hell? Woo! Great morning, great afternoon, and great evening, whichever you may be tuning into the video, man. I'm excited to be here today, man. Transition starts here. Study the old you, part 4, habits and patterns. All right, man. So today we're talking about habits and patterns. And I pose the question, are you strong as hell or are you weak as hell? And the reason why I pose that question is that is a reflection of your habits and your patterns. Either your patterns and habits make you strong or your habits and patterns make you weak. So which one is it? Is it strong as hell or is it weak as hell? You decide when you get to study the old you which one it is. All right, man. So I'm going to go into a few different habits and patterns of behavior that I had when I was studying the old version of myself. And we're going to reflect on and expand on those different topics. So one habit that I always had when I particularly was in college was anytime you would catch me, I'd be sitting down with a Bible, reading my Bible, studying every single day. That habit was so ingrained into me that my roommates at the time nicknamed me Bible Boy or Bible Man because every time they see me sitting down, I had the Bible in my hands. I was always reading and studying the Bible. Now, is that a good pattern and habit to have? Absolutely. Absolutely it is. But the thing about it is as much as I was reading it at the time, I think I was reading it consciously, but subconsciously, the patterns of behavior that I had when it came down to how I was interacting that time in my life in college did not reflect the reading or the habit that I was doing. I had a good habit, but with that habit, I established a bad pattern of not listening to myself and implementing the things that I was doing in the reading of the book. So it was good that that was a good pattern for me. Good habit for me to have as far as me reading it consistently every single day and making sure that I'm getting the word in me. But I wasn't letting the word fill my spirit up and allowing my fruit to be produced in a light that it can help me to show up better in the world. So I was reading it. That was great. That was a good first step. That was a good habit. But as far as the patterns that was established after that habit, they weren't necessarily the best patterns to have when establishing with that habit. I think when we looking at that habit, if I would have took that habit of me reading that and added the habit that I have now, which is journaling alongside of my reading and really figuring out what parts of my life I can impart in what I'm reading in and apply it to directly in the current time that I'm in right now, I think that would have been better because that would have allowed me to be able to recognize some of those different patterns that I was doing in my life at that particular time that didn't match that habit and allow me to make shifts and changes in the behavior and the actions and things that I was doing to show up better and be a better individual in that time and that space. So that's one habit. The second habit I would say is working out. Now, I didn't work out every single day, but since I was a little kid, I've always had the habit of learning or conducting my life around the activity that I did, whether that's baseball, basketball, track. It's always been some form of physical activity or some sport that It's always been some particular sport that I have. I can't think of the word right now, man. This tripping me up. I can't think of the word. It's always been a particular sport or activity that my life has been centered around. So with that activity that my life has been centered around, it's always been something physical. It's always been something pertaining to fitness and health. So for me, I have a habit of when I'm trying to recenter my life or trying to get things back in order, that is one of the first things that I typically like to work on, is making sure that I'm physically fit and make sure that I get into a routine and habit of working out consistently. Because once I get into the habit of working out consistently, that starts to help me feel more centered and brings me back to where now I can start to navigate and structure the things around me in a way that is normal to me, because for majority of my life, that's how that's how I've lived and that's how I've done things. So when things tend to get off center, that is one thing that helps me to come back and get back grounded and to start to move along in the right path. So typically what I find is, through my different patterns of studying, is when I am off center, typically I'm not working out consistently. Typically I don't have a consistent routine. I don't have a consistent habit of working out, going to the gym, lifting, running, whatever it is at that particular time in life. It's always, that's off center. So that's one thing that I recognize when it comes down to, how I operate and how I move throughout the world with that particular habit. So if I know that, and I know that I'm off center, that usually helps me to get back center. I can utilize that activity and now create a magnitude of discipline in my life to where now I don't get too far off from working out, and I always keep it in a consistent routine and make it a consistent habit, that now the patterns that follow are more positive. As life goes on and as life hits me, I'll be able to take on those patterns with a little bit of a different mindset and be able to just have a little bit more light for as I walk through the world. So that is one thing that I can say that I definitely will work on going forward, and that I've learned from me studying the old version of myself. Another habit I would say that I have is, typically I would start something, and then once the newness of it wore off, I would typically probably shift to something else. Now, this is a particular pattern that I noticed not only in myself, but I've noticed also in my family. So with that particular pattern of starting something, and then once the newness of it wears off and not actually sticking with it long enough for it to be successful and for it to take off, what I've noticed is I don't actually give the ideas that I have enough time to be able to grow. Once I start watering them out, it's like I walk off and forget about continuously doing the work that's needed to make sure that it's grounded and make sure that it continues to grow. So what I've done over the last 3 to 5 years is just make sure that whatever I start, I want to be consistent with it. So if it's something that I can't be consistent with it, I try not to start things that I can't be consistent with. If I can't be consistent with it, I just like, nah, I don't want to do it. Even if it's something that's relatively small, I try not to start things that I cannot be consistent with. And if I notice that I'm having some inconsistencies there, I'll try to correct that inconsistency and try to make sure that I can show up. And if I can't show up, then I will either walk away from that activity or that thing, or I will step up and make sure that I can do it consistently. But typically, if I have to step up to do it consistently, it will involve me sacrificing something else. So I have to make sure that the thing that I am prioritizing over something else is worth that sacrifice in order for me to make. And if it's not, then I continue to have what I have on my plate and I continue to move forward throughout in life. So we have to start to notice these particular habits and patterns that we have within ourselves as we're studying the old version of ourselves, so that we can propel into the future and be a better version and show up as a better version in the future. Those are just a few of the habits and patterns that I have in particular and that I've noticed about myself. And since I've noticed those things about myself, I have now come up with a plan to make sure that if I do catch myself doing these things again, I notice how to move forward in the future. So let me say that one thing too. When you notice your old patterns and your old habits, don't get down on yourself if once you study the old you, those old habits and patterns start to show up again. It's good that now you have some awareness, so now you can recognize when they are showing up. And once you recognize when they are showing up, you can correct it. You're not going to be perfect when you're making these changes to be a better version of the new you. You're not. You're not going to be perfect. That's why we focus on progression and not perfection. We focus on progression and not perfection. And as we are perfecting our craft, we're making that progress and we're giving ourselves the grace to be able to continue to move forward and to continue to get better. But we're not getting stuck in a moment where we don't feel like we've matched that moment perfectly to how we want it. So just keep that in mind when you're making these changes and these habits and these patterns and these things that you're noticing within your old self as you study yourself to propel forward into the new you. All right, man, that's it for this week, man. If you know somebody that needs to hear this message, man, go ahead and share it with them, man. Go ahead and share it with them. And by the way, man, while you sharing it with them, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, Chaversnation on all platforms, man. Hey, listen, I appreciate y'all when I see y'all in person and y'all tell me y'all like the video, y'all like what I'm doing. Put the comment on there. It's somebody that needs to see your comment saying how this video impacted you, saying how this video had a positive impact on you, how it has changed or moved your life. Somebody else needs to see that, because once you start to comment on the video and once somebody sees your comment, it's going to make more people comment on the video so we can get more engagement and we can start to push these messages out so more people can get impacted just like you. All right, man. Woo! That greatness. Woo! That greatness is in the heart, baby. And we all got it. Let's go. Woo! Part 5 coming next week.